All right, this is season 1, episode 1, El Jefe. In 3, 2, 1, play. Is this the only show that was kind of a hit that they've had that broke into the I don't want to say mainstream, but yeah. This is the best representation of you can come home again. Raimi and Campbell haven't missed a beat in what at this point it was 20 years. Like Ash doesn't feel like a different character. And this is a minor thing. I applaud their choice of actually using rock. So many shows feel throw in like a rap song or R&B where it doesn't fit, and it drives me insane. Because I think there's always that temptation of we gotta make Ash a little too good at things, but Raimi never falls into that trap. Well, he doesn't. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He went to school for 5 minutes. It's fine.
Character here, where he's middle aged, he's past his prime, and he's strapping himself into a girdle to go pick up chicks. It's this is not how you reintroduce your typical hero, even though, as we've discussed before, like the modern soft reboot trend is bringing back the old legacy characters and having them be miserable and sad and old, and it's usually handled poorly, and this does it great.
No, this is the best example of here's somebody that you grew up like idolizing or liking, and this is what they're like old. They're not miserable. Sure, maybe he has a shitty life, but like he likes his life.
And that's part of what adds to the humor of it is to us. It's like, oh, this is not a great place for Ash to be in, but he's happy with where he is, and that's
Yeah, yeah.
nice.
And we get some stuff that we haven't seen in an Evil Dead before. I don't think any of the Evil Deads have any sex scenes.
I mean, there's the tree one.
Wow.
That wasn't consensual. No, I
No, and
love
I
how
mean
over
this
the
looks
top
like the
this scene
most awkward, like clumsy.
is. So good. And should be said that, of course, Sam Raimi directs this pilot and does a great job.
I kind of wish he'd done more of the show.
I do too, but all the other directors emulate his style well enough that I never miss him. I feel like if this is the last Evil Dead thing that Raimi ever directs, it's fine. I don't know if he has more to give to this series. You can tell he's just having a ball here. You know, this is after the Spider-Man trilogy. This is after that Wizard of Oz movie. It's just this
Which I
feels
still haven't
really
seen.
comfortable and nostalgic. It's all right.
Continuing this franchise is not giving a fuck about continuity. How did he get the book?
At some point between the movies and this, I guess he went back to the cabin and got it.
Also, this is
That's
the
how he
greatest
got a
like
hold of it.
origin for why the Deadites are back I've ever seen.
This shouldn't work. This is usually the thing people would be screaming about online, saying this was character assassination. He wouldn't do this. And it's like, it's funny. Yeah, he got high and accidentally read from the book. You know, it happens. Ash
Well,
isn't
I think the
perfect.
difference
That's why
between
we like
that
him.
is a lot of the places that happens is stuff like Batman or Superman, where it is arguably character assassination. This is in character.
Yeah,
You can go to those
Ash has never
places
been as
with him
smart.
because he's a screw up.
Mhm. It. Oh, this is gonna be a
Although
weird
I do have to
analogy.
ask, I've never been high, but I know the idea of it, right? Your worries go away. Would it make you suddenly forget what the book could do when you read those words?
There might be other drugs involved that we're not seeing. I don't know.
That's true.
And before the penguin, this was our best F bomb lead into title card ever.
Yes. No, and all the title cards, at least in this first season, are great.
Oh, for sure.
I just don't remember the other ones, so I can't speak on those.
But this is gonna be a weird analogy, and once again, I'm gonna bring up a movie I've never actually watched for myself. But it reminds me a little of what I've heard they do with Jack in Pirates of the Caribbean 5, where he's kind of
Oh.
washed up and sad. But at the beginning of that movie, I know he does something kind of deliberate that he knows will fuck things up and be bad for him, but he doesn't care because he misses the adventure and wants something back. And it's like that there's an idea there that I really like. I've just heard the movie executes it horribly. And
Mhm.
here we do something similar, except it's entirely played for comedy and is not at all intentional.
So I will say this: all of season one, if you count as just a 5 hour film, is kind of the perfect Evil Dead 4.
Agreed.
Right down to, and we'll get to it later, but right down to the bad ending. So how do you feel about this cop lady?
I like her. I think the actress is very good. I think she works enough for the season. I don't know if there's a lot there you could have done more with in future seasons, but as a one season character, I think she totally works.
Well, see, I like her a lot, and I kind of wish she'd stuck around. But
Oh, okay.
I really like her dynamic with Ash.
Sure. I like this scene a lot. This is, in my
This is
opinion,
like
creepier than
boiled
anything in
down
Evil Dead
Evil
2.
Dead.
No, this is like, oh, cool. We're actually doing scary stuff.
And hey, I will not hear slander on the random loud noises before Nobi shows up. That makes me want to have an anxiety attack. No, I think Raimi kind of got that horror bug because a couple years before this, he does Drag Me to Hell, uh,
Mhm.
which was his big comeback to the genre. And I think he's learned a little bit more how to marry those two things together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you could argue there's definitely a bit of Drag Me to Hell in this show.
She's also really fun in the game too.
Oh, yeah, it's really cool that they added her.
Yeah, and she's one of those characters where I'm like, oh, of course, this is like the role you gave her. She's the one of the ranged.
Mhm.
Because there's a couple where I'm like, that's what she did. It feels like you just didn't know where to put them.
Right.
Oh, look, it's that
Now that,
girl.
yeah. And the coolest thing about that game is it's the only Evil Dead property that gets to use everything. They must have finally figured out all the weird rights stuff by the time that came in, because you get stuff from the first movie, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, the show, and the remake. It's just really cool that everything got to be incorporated.
One thing I will criticize the show a little bit: CGI is not good.
Oh, CGI is real hit or miss in this show. There's a little too much. Sometimes it's funny and totally fits fine, and other times it's just way too obvious and looks unfinished. But and that's one of those things I could roll with.
But yeah, that head spin looked really rough.
There's still a ton of great makeup and practical effects. So the one thing you got to give the show is there's at least still tons of real on set blood.
Yeah. No, but I have that with Bring Me in this and Drag Me to Hell, where it's like, oh,
You're using a little too much CGI.
and it's really bad in Drag Me to Hell. There's that shot where somebody throws up like CGI blood or something.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't look great. Oh no, he got the Silent Night, Deadly Night death.
He did. So this also brings back the we have to dismember them,
Yes.
or at least blow their head off. Apparently,
Yeah, sometimes it works. That's one of my favorite shots in this show, though, when the blood splatter goes against the curtains and then we see the hinges close one after another. It's this sequence is really cool and very spooky.
and obviously after this we end up getting Chucky. It's kind of interesting that the two big horror comedy franchises end up going to TV, and they both last 3 seasons.
Yep.
Oh my god, it's Spider Man! I didn't know this was
And no,
actually Spider Man 4.
it's the human spider, John.
That looked really bad. Him jumping off the ceiling.
I thought it looked fine.
I like the lighting here.
Yeah, that's really cool. The Deadites, one thing the show does really well is all the Deadites have very distinct personalities. They put a lot of effort into making each and every one stand out. And this is an element we also haven't really seen much in this franchise since Evil Dead 2 of the Deadites being able to shift in and out of looking like zombies and looking like normal and trying to fuck with you psychologically. This show does that a lot.
Well, no, that happens in Army of Darkness and the remake.
It does a little bit, just not as much as the first two.
Well, even in the first two, that only happens once.
Yeah, but they're pretty notable scenes.
No, what stands out to me about this is just the lighting.
Mhm.
Oh, that was unfortunate.
Oh yeah. Whenever you get a CGI head explosion, the show looks pretty bad. But to what you were saying earlier about this whole season being like a perfect Evil Dead 4, that's kind of how I feel about like just the pilot. It helps that it's extended in actually 40 minutes, but it's just a little mini movie. You get kind of everything you want just in this first episode.
Yeah, but it ends off enough a cliffhanger that it still, on its own, feels like a an episode of television.
Oh, totally. Oh no, if this is for easily in like one of the top 10 pilots I've ever seen of any TV show. It ranks
Yes.
really high.
No, it's a great pilot.
And the actress who plays this lady was one of the old people in the opening of the remake.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. I think what I really admire about Bruce and Sam to a degree is they know that their franchise is popular, but they don't give a shit. Not in a like they hate it way. It's just like, eh, I mean, it got popular for some reason.
Yeah, like we talked about with that first film, it's just so weird and scrappy and not mainstream friendly at all. It's insane that that spawned such a big franchise because most of those horror movies don't.
I love Deadite Vivian. She's so good.
She's great, and she's in the new Retro Realms video
Yeah, she
game
is.
as a boss. And of course, we got the classic. I don't remember how much they drove the actual car in this show. I know they made a bunch of
Well, that makes sense. I'm not surprised he's kept that damn thing running all these years.
them.
So
Ray,
here's
I
one of
mean,
the first of many things they had to change for rights issues.
yes,
It's no longer S Smart. It's whatever the hell
value
this
stop.
place is.
And not that it matters, but you could also pretend like, well, maybe S Smart just changed their name at some point. It's been 30 years. That's plausible. It's not like a, it's not an annoying retcon or anything. That's what's really weird about this franchise and rights, though, is it's something the series has always had a history with. Because going into Evil Dead 2, New Line Cinema had Evil Dead 1, but then Evil Dead 2 was Dino De Laurentiis, so that's why. Oh,
Talking
sorry,
over the best gag.
the light bulbs. It's so good. And he just sweeps them. His comedic timing is still on point. It's just
You haven't
so
missed
fun
a
to see him as
beat.
his character. Not at all. And then we have Pablo, one of the best sidekicks ever.
Well, it's funny because when I first saw this trailer, keep in mind I was a teenager. I was like, "Oh, I just want a show about Ash. Fuck these other characters." But I love the side characters, and if there's any disappointment other than just Ash not getting a conclusion finally, it's I want to know what happens to Pablo and Kelly.
They're fine. They're out killing Deadites somewhere. Yeah, because it's very easy to imagine a version of the show where all like the side subplots suck, but then it's enjoyable when Ash is on screen, and that's just all you're there for. But they do find a way to make all these characters enjoyable.
The lowest point of this season for me is the whole Kelly possession thing. But even then, it's like I like it. It's not bad. It's just
Yeah, it's not bad. It just
probably
goes
my
on a
least.
little one.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
And this actress that plays Kelly like loves this role. She's still
He does.
very passionate about it. Um, Also, how old would you guess that she is?
Like the actress at this time,
Yeah,
I would have guessed like mid 20s,
and this show debuted what? What's this? 2016,
2015.
2015. I didn't say. It didn't say anymore. But at one point, I read it. I saw it. And it was like she is older than I would have thought.
Oh, interesting. These actors, I want to make sure I get their names right. Ray
Dana
Santiago and
Lorenzo.
Dana De Lorenzo. They are so good and do not have the careers they deserve coming
No,
off
they
this
don't.
show. They should be in everything because they're amazing. They should be in way more properties and stuff. I
So
just
she
love to
is
watch them work.
41 now. So she would have been around 30 when this was there. Came out.
That's crazy. And it's insane to think that, oh yeah, this show premiered almost 10 years ago now. How the fuck did that happen?
I know. Feels like yesterday.
Does
We've had another
this was
Evil Dead
such a
movie
treat.
come out after this.
That's true. And two video games.
Yeah. I do kind of hope with one of those movies that they're cooking up, even if Bruce doesn't come back, that they get one of them back.
I'd be down. Also, it's this is also a property where it's like kind of surprised they haven't done more comics. Like, because that's something
Yeah,
that would be fairly cheap, and if you wanted to tell more Pablo and Kelly stories, I mean, you could just do that as a comic. I'd
I
read
think
it.
the only notable ones that I could think of is just the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
Yeah, and
Well,
which are
no,
all now out of
sorry,
print.
that's not true. What am I talking about? There is a whole host of Army of Darkness comics. I don't know if you know
I
about
think there
this.
were back in the '90s. Yeah, I've never read any, but I think there were a
No,
bunch.
I mean they. I think they might still be coming out.
Oh,
Um,
weird. That I didn't know about.
in the comics, at least as of the last time I looked into this, I can't believe I spaced on this. But he's crossed over with Darkman, Reanimator,
Oh my
Xena.
god, that's awesome.
Let me
Well,
see if they're still coming out.
like I was talking about earlier with the rights issues, it's like for a time, and maybe to this day, there is distinctly Evil Dead merchandise and Army of Darkness merchandise.
Hmm.
Or that's why you get all those Army of Darkness comics you were talking about. Because Army of Darkness just becomes its own offshoot line from this franchise, which they end up not having access to for the show, so they can't reference it directly. Which is why you get All You Stop instead of S Mart. And I think there is a mention somewhere on the show about Ash time traveling before. I think there's like references to the Middle Ages, but like nothing specific. But then you have calling the shotgun the boomstick. That's from Army Dark. That's okay. I guess that's fine. But I don't think we start calling there's Deadites until Army of Darkness, and they're called Deadites in this. So that kind of confuses me.
Evil. There's a loophole. They call him that in Evil Dead 2 when he goes back in time at the very end.
Okay, so that must be where
Because
that weird
remember the
pops
night
up.
that is
I
Sam Raimi
misread.
has that whole "Hail, he who came from the sky to deliver us from the Deadites." So
Okay.
on top of that, Ash, because these get wild. Okay, Kiss and Army of Darkness and Bubba Hotep, uh,
Yes.
Army of Darkness. Ash saves Obama. Um, Marvel Zombies versus Army of Darkness.
Of
Um,
course.
no, and the last ongoing was in 2015. It was Ash in Space. Space.
In
And
space.
actually, I'm glad you mentioned this because I actually have the first like omnibus. I'd like to take a look at those for the channel at some point.
Oh, cool. And I like this scene. It feels very reminiscent of like the little ashes in Area Darkness, or the stuff with hand in the second one with this little
Fucking
doll,
doll.
little Lori, who is I've mentioned this before, but voiced by the lady who posed with Bruce Campbell for all those photos promoting the original movie, and she's on the poster like with her arm. Yeah.
They are also in the game.
Oh, did they finally add these?
No, they've been in the game. They're in one of the later stages of Army of Darkness. I'm gonna
Oh,
send you
cool.
this cover because it's cool.
And and she was also, I think, a stunt woman on Army of Darkness, or is like one of the fighters in it or something.
Okay. The main
But
thing I know about Army of Darkness is just like crossover casting. Is
yeah,
the she bitch or whoever that is Barbara in the '90s Night of the Living Dead movie.
that's correct. I what I love about Deadites in this franchise is with the first movie, you get kind of like, okay, the idea is these people die or they're possessed by these demons, and then these demons slowly start to take over their bodies and make them worse and worse and more evil. I get it. Demons can also just possess dolls in this universe, and it's fine.
And give them full blood, flesh and blood.
Yeah, so why not? And I think that's a Rob Tappert cameo running out of the value stop.
Oh, cool.
That's part of what's comforting about this franchise. It's like
Here's our
It starts with
mandatory
three.
recap.
Yes, of course. It starts with these three guys. You know, Sam Raimi, Rob Tapper, and Bruce Campbell, and also Ted and Ivan Raimi, obviously. And then it's them for basically the rest of that franchise to now. It's always been there's been no controversies, there's been no falling outs, there's been no weird splintering.
Well,
It's
that's another
it's
thing
really
that it has
comforting.
with Chucky is that's all just Don Mancini.
Yep. And then you get your Brad Dourifs and your Jennifer Tillys, who stick with the whole thing, who like working with him.
I love the way they do this recap, even though it kind of breaks my brain trying to
It
reconcile
does.
one and two.
I'll explain it to you. So we're getting footage from both Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2. So in the context of this show, Evil Dead 1, Scotty,
Like, look at that
Cheryl,
shot.
Kelly
That's
are
so
canon.
cool.
It's great. But the Linda in this continuity is Evil Dead 2 Linda. You with me so far?
No,
It all works.
I mean, I don't really care,
It
but
all makes sense. Yeah. Well, and when we get to season 2, what they do with Cheryl is really cool. And I really
that
like
might
it.
be my favorite episode. I was so happy to see her. Apparently, she's in
It's
that
great.
Wizard of Oz movie too.
Yeah, she has a cameo. All three of the original Evil Dead ladies have a cameo scene in that.
Cool.
And that's also neat because I think for both of us going into the show, it wasn't a given that they were going to reference Evil Dead 1 stuff. I
No,
think
I was
we all,
shocked.
yeah, I think we all assumed, okay, it's going to count like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and it's going to pick up from there. Like, that's, I think, what we just all assumed going into this.
One thing I do appreciate about the show is because as the movies progress, Ash becomes less of a character and more of a archetype caricature. This kind of gives him a little bit of that like characterization and
Yeah,
pathos that he not pathos is the wrong word, but like he feels like a human again.
yes.
There's that really lovely scene towards the end when they go back to the cabin. Like he hears Linda's voice. Oh, so good.
I don't buy that phone in 2015 has that good picture quality.
No, that would be like that should be like sub 720p, and especially on mobile data because there's no way that store has Wi-Fi.
Yeah, for sure. No, the show is still kind of timeless. Like, if you show this to somebody now, I don't think they'd be able to pinpoint when exactly this was made. It still feels
Mm,
very recent.
this might just be me because I used to work for a phone company. I can tell that is not a modern phone.
That's fair.
For one thing, all modern phones have no physical buttons anymore.
That's true.
I don't know what kind of phone you have, but also I don't know how she uses that phone. There's like one button. That's also a really old iOS.
I love that shot though of her mom's silhouette.
Yeah, how does she know that's her mom?
Because her dad was just saying stuff like, I was smelling pancakes and all this stuff earlier. Like he was thinking about her.
Okay. I don't know who plays the manager, but he's really funny.
He's really funny, and then is even better as a Deadite.
Yeah.
Also, we right off the bat established that that purple's one of Kelly's main colors for her wardrobe.
Mhm.
They've already kind of nailed the look. Yeah, 90% of the side characters who show up, you're like, oh, this person's kind of fun. Oh, right, they're gonna have to be a Deadite.
Do we know how involved Raimi was with this after this episode?
I think Rob Tapper was considerably more involved. I think this is more of his baby going forward.
Because Raimi said he wants to do a one last go with Campbell.
Yeah.
I think Campbell will cave at some point and do it.
Yeah, he's only getting older, and at a
Mhm.
certain point you have to stop. You need to stop asking for more. I just it would be nice if they could
I'm
get that
not asking for
animated
more,
project.
but I'm just saying I won't cry if we get more. No, but I think Raimi wants to have one last
Mhm.
go around before it's too late. Hell, I'd settle for wheelchair Ash just walking around blasting Deadites. You can get some
I
comedy
think
out of that.
the compromise there is if you did a movie where Ash was a side character.
Hmm.
And for me, both the remake and Evil Dead Rise prove that you can still introduce new characters as leads in this franchise that I care about.
Yeah, my only concern is I don't want every Evil Dead movie going forward to be the dark and serious and
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I'm ready for more comedy.
you gotta get goofy with it.
Mm. And part of what was really enjoyable about the show, though, is when you're watching this on first viewing, it is really intense. Like I was always on the edge of my seat, not sure where we would go. I was always very concerned for Pablo and Kelly's safety. There is real tension
And
in the
this is a
show
gag that
when
will
you're
never
first
come back again, but he's wearing false teeth.
watching. But earlier you mentioned we were mentioning Raimi's Oz movie, Oz the Great and Powerful. It's pretty good. It's just Army of Darkness, but with Wizard of Oz characters.
That's
Like
what
it's the
I've
same
heard.
plot. What what really hurts that movie is its two lead characters are horribly miscast. Both James Franco and Mila Kunis are horrible choices for those characters,
Oof.
and the rest of the movie suffers for it. But the side characters are great, and there's still some really fun Raimi camera work. Like it's still an entertaining enough movie, but that's the big thing that hurts it.
This is why I still to this day say that Evil Dead 2 is a superhero origin movie. Because by the time you get to this, he is just a superhero. He even
Yep,
has a costume.
he does, and he's
I
in
don't
it once
care
again
that
in
it's
his
just a
reluctant
blue
hero
shirt and
phase.
brown pants. It is a superhero costume.
Why is he wearing that under his uniform? I don't know. But shots like
To
the
be
axe
fair,
throw,
it's just the blue shirt under the red jacket. Like that's not really
yeah,
that out there. And then this is just peak Evil Dead.
this is so good. And like the shot of the axe throw, that's a shot that looks bad and it's fine because it's so cartoony and over the top.
No, we're gonna get to the real cartoony moment here in a bit.
It's amazing. And like I said, there is the whenever it's CGI blood, it looks real bad, but I can forgive it because we at least do use real blood in every episode, and you know what a pain in the ass that is to film with, especially on a TV show. So it's amazing they do as much fake blood as they actually do in this show.
Like, why does he have
This
that?
fight's great. This is one of my favorite Deadite kills in the show when he has the shotgun to the back of his head.
It's so good.
Great use of the boomstick. Name's Ash. Housewares. And I like that we went back to the Evil Dead 2 design for the book
The
because
the
I
Army of
think it's the
Darkness one
best
is
one.
too clean.
Mm.
I would love to know how many of those lines Bruce Campbell just came up with on the spot.
So good. But you're gonna hear us say this a lot during this live stream. This scene's great. This line's really funny. Bruce Campbell's great. This fake out with the chainsaw is excellent, though.
Well, what's
This
the
is
shot of
really good
like
use here.
Pablo with the light coming from behind?
Vivian.
Yeah, like
Every
how
time
long have you been standing there? How did nobody notice?
it's so good. Yeah, sometimes Deadites can teleport. Sometimes they can't.
Things that I
It's
want to
fine.
ask Sam Raimi if I ever meet him. Hey, so you know that shot where Vivian's just standing there?
Menacingly. And I know for years and years, Bruce Campbell said, Evil Dead 4, it's not going to happen. Army of Darkness bombed. I'm too old. I'm out of shape. And to his credit, he really got back in shape for this. He put a lot of effort here. And I appreciate the amount of stunts and action scenes we get with him. Like, he's putting his all into it. And it probably almost killed him because this was very exhausting and took a lot out of him.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why I've always been understanding of like I you put a lot into this and it gets canceled. Like that's kind of you want that to be your swan song.
Yeah, but it's also understandable why he wasn't quick to like try to shop this to other networks to save it. Because very quickly after this was canceled was when he said online, "I'm done. I'm out. I had a good run, but I'm retiring." Um, it was a sad minute, but he's talked a lot about how difficult the show was to make and how exhausting it was. Like he was getting so burnt out anyway
So
that when he was canceled,
I
he was like,
thought the joke was going to be that the chainsaw hits him in the face, but what we got is so much better.
"Yeah."
But this is a
And he's
superhero
that's
shot.
he's flying, John. He can fly, and it's a great Army of Darkness callback when he jumps up and gets the chainsaw. It's so good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the season 2 premiere because I think we do that gag at some where he gets hit in the face. With, I think that does end up
I think
the
that's
show.
season 3.
Maybe.
But I think the obvious compromise with this would just be get him a proper stunt double for some of that stuff.
Well, and he did have a son, though. I mean, whenever you see him like getting tossed across a room, like that's usually a stunt. But to his credit, he's still doing a lot of his own stunts. But Ash is a character where I always want some degree of involvement for Campbell. And for me, if the compromise is just making something animated where you can just do the voice, I'm cool with that.
I would also be fine with that.
Groovy.
Um,
Perfect. Perfect.
that is a
No.
perfect ending, and that is a better groovy than Army of Darknesses.
I agree. And I like the one in Army of Darkness, but
I
this
don't
one's
hate
better.
it, but all right, that was episode 1 of season 1. If you're watching this
We did it.
after the fact, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We'll see you next time for episode 2.